Stevie Fast, Jackson, Bahrain 1 Racing, here with your 2020 NHRA Pro Mod recap. We're going to give you guys a rundown of how we started, how we finished, and the run towards the championship in 2020 in NHRA Pro Modified. Our season started out pretty sluggish. We crashed the car in Orlando, had some mad thrash to get it back together. COVID hits, sidelines us for 2 or 3 months. We finally get racing in July in Indy. All of our hopes are up, expectations are up. We show up to our first Pro Modified race in Indy, qualify mid-pack, run Brandon Snyder in the first round of competition of 2021. Here we are for the opening round of competition, first race of the season for the NHRA 2020 Pro Mod Series. It's been a late start to the season. Here we are in Indy. We're matched up with Brandon Snyder, and this one is going to be a barn burner. This run right here will set the tone for the entire 2020 season. It's always tight when me and Brandon race. He edges me out in this one by 0.005 of a second.
We will see a show, and we'll see it on the starting line to start. Brandon Snyder, 30 on the tree to Jackson's 33. And look at this. The defending champ is bounced in the first round. Snyder, a 5.85.0, beats a 5.85.2. The margin of victory, merely 5 thou at the finish line.
The first race at Indy is underway that ended in us getting crushed in the first round. Now we're up to the second race of the season back at Indy. We're up against our old arch enemy, arch rival, Mike Castellana. A bunch of respect for Mike. He's one of those drivers that will make you pay for it on the starting line. Got Frank Manzo standing behind him, and when you got Frank tuning a blown alcohol car, you never know if that thing's going to go out and set a record or not. You got to be able to defend the scoreboards as well as the starting line. So me and Mike always show up when we race each other, and we'll see how this shakes out.
Stevie Fast in the beans. Mike Castellana is 14 on the tree, but the car breaks traction. And as we go down the racetrack, we will see Stevie Fast Jackson getting out of the first round for the first time.
Second round of competition, second race of the season. Myself in the left lane up against Chris Thorne in the right lane in the turbocharged Camaro. As you'll hear the announcers talking about, I think turbos are pieces of junk and belong on tow equipment and dump trucks. Neither one of us want a stage. A lot of the turbo guys think it's their right to stage last because they don't know how to properly stage without flashing a bulb. And this is kind of just a silly battle of wits on the starting line to see who can get the best of who. The starter up here, it waves us in 3 times. As a competitor inside the race car, I don't see him the first 2 times wave me in. You're very hyper-focused on the Christmas tree, and really nothing else matters. There's nothing in your peripheral vision. There's nothing that you're seeing except for that Christmas tree, because if Chris decides to go in, I got to be ready to come in within 7 seconds or I'm going red. I'm scanning at the instruments on the dash. I can see that the engine is heating up. Oil pressure is getting low. I'm calculating fuel flow in my brain about how much this thing it has for fuel. We carry 11 gallons of fuel on board. This thing's idling at a little over a gallon a minute. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty low on fuel here. And that's actually what happened at the top end. The thing actually ran out of fuel, shut off, and blew up. So my desire to win on the starting line, although it won and I left on him by a little bit, injured our horse at the top end.
Getting a little bit warmer, a little bit hotter, a little bit less efficient. Meanwhile, the turbo car is just sitting there. The turbochargers themselves aren't really doing much of anything, just basically venting the exhaust gas out next to them. And Chris Thorne says, you want to wait? I'll wait as long as you want. Thorne may be new to this series, but he's a PDRA champion, and he is unshakable. Here we go.
Stevie Fast goes in. Chris spools up the turbos. Now he pulls in. 3 thousandths on the starting line. Nobody really has the advantage there. Better car. It's going to be the turbo.
It's the third race of the NHRA Pro Modified season, and we are back at Indy for the big go, the U.S. Nationals. What I think is the hardest race on our series to win. When you come here, you better bring your A game. You better have a bazooka. I always get amped up for first round. We're racing a Pro Charger car over there. We got Bob Gardner doing the tuning. We got Clint Satterfield doing the driving, and I know that those guys can flat out run me. The way the rules are structured right now with that combination, you got to be on your A game. I went up there and took a shot at the tree. And when your Indy U.S. Nationals first round starts out like this, it's probably going to be a good day.
The leader of the Bahrain 1 team, if there is one, is Stevie Fast Jackson. He's closest to us, taking on Clint Satterfield. Satterfield having one of the best years he's ever had in the category, certainly driving one of the fastest Pro Modifieds he has ever sat behind the wheel of. Both men are in. Stevie Fast Jackson has a perfect reaction time. And Jackson with the perfect light goes to the finish line stripe and wins 577.6 at 246. Satterfield's car emitting smoke.
Second round here at the Big Go, and I have got my hero and Bahrain 1 Racing teammate, Khaled Al-Balushi. This car's been a rocket ship. Brad Personet's doing a killer job tuning it. Anytime you line up against a fellow Bahrain 1 racing car, you better bring your A game.
So Khaled Al-Balushi and Stevie Fast Jackson, teammates in the Bahrain 1 world. That same air that came in to help Stevie Fast Jackson's combination is also going to help Belushi go even faster. We're going to find out what happens here as they line them up and get ready to rock and roll. Starting line favors Jackson by a bunch, and when they get down to the finish line stripe, the result will favor Jackson as well on a hole shot.
Semi-final round. We've got a rematch against Brandon Snyder. I feel like I still owe him one for the first race of the season, and we know this is going to be a tough one. This is one of those rounds where Billy's telling me on the radio, you're going to have to go get it on the starting line if you want to win it. When you got the kind of confidence that my guys have in me up there, it makes it easier, but anytime I race against these guys, I'm swinging for it.
Man, both guys are trying to get points to get back in a championship hunt that really is wide open so far. Who's going to flinch first here to go into fully staged? Neither man wants to move. There goes Snyder. Here comes Jackson. And again, astonishing reaction times. A 16, a 19, and a win light for Stevie Fast Jackson. He's going to the final round by 23 inches.
And here we are at our first final round appearance of the 2020 racing season. Indy, the U.S. Nationals, and we're going up against the number 2 finisher in the points last year, the guy that was on my heels, my hero and mentor, Todd Tutterow. When you're racing Todd Tutterow, you never know what is going to happen. He may just go out there and flat outrun you. You know he's an animal on the starting line. You never take anybody lightly, but that's one of those deals where if you get crushed by Todd, you don't hang your head. You're supposed to get crushed by Todd. We go up there, load it up, make a picture-perfect run, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Stevie Fast Jackson grew up watching Tutterow race. Here we go. And it's Jackson 009. And it's Tutterow having to shut it off. And Stevie Fast Jackson has won the U.S. Nationals for the second time in his career. 575.6, 248.98 miles an hour. Todd Tutterow suffered problems early in the run, coast to a 10:15, and Stevie Fast is a U.S. National.
As the Wally from the U.S. National goes into the hands of Stevie Fast Jackson. Steve, you picked up your first U.S. National win after a year of struggle. This one has been no different for you. Where do you pull from for motivation?
Man, the people that are around me. What a lot of people don't know is that last week
I crashed this car at this racetrack in testing, hit the wall at 250 miles an hour. Our team owner, Sheikh Abdulla, never one time said you can't do it. I want to thank David Reese at Reese Brothers Race Cars. Dropped everything he was doing, flew back from California, rebuilt this car in 5 days. Billy Stocklin is the best that there is. He never gives up on me. My boys, Jack, Robert, Drew, Robbie, and Phil Shuler, you cannot replace the team that surrounds you when you fail. This is a hard one to win. Everybody out here is trying to blow your head off up there. You got my man Todd Tutterow, the best in the business. And you know, you just cannot replace winning this thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And now to Gainesville, the Gatornationals. What is my Achilles heel of drag racing? The one event that I want to win so bad that I can't stand it and I can't seem to put it together. And it's the first round against Justin Jones. New kid coming into NHRA this year. When you run these young guys, you know that they're always going to take a shot at you. They got a lot of support over there behind that team. And as I always do in E1, I'm going to drag this thing up to the starting line, load it up. Round number 2, the Gatornationals. Once again, my hero, Khaled Al-Balushi, my Bahrain 1 Racing teammate. That Pro Charger is absolutely flying. I know that we cannot outrun it. We roll the dice on the tune-up and see how much we can get away with to try to outrun it and come up short. The Gatornationals strikes again, and Stevie Fast is crushed in the second round.
An 029 light, but gets outrun, suffering problems. The car slows to a 607. Belushi bailed out by Bradford.
Dallas, Texas. E1 up against Justin Jones, the rookie coming into NHRA for his first season. This is our second time we've lined up against each other, both in the first round. We're going to see if we can put something together on the starting line that'll keep us out front. This team has been making strides this season, and they are running better and better at each event. And we'll see how this shakes out.
Kind of dancing around through the middle, and now a little smoke out of the Imperial car top end. Stevie Fast makes it happen, 5.813 at 247.
Round 2, me versus Mike Janis, the 2018 NHRA Pro Mod champion versus the 2019 NHRA Pro Mod champion. Always a fun and exciting race when we run these guys. Junior is very aggressive on the tune-up. They normally make a good run. And Mike Sr. is an exceptional driver, both on the starting line as far as navigating down the racetrack. We got the thing loaded up, and we're going to drop the hammer.
And now we pre-stage and wait. Okay, Mike Janis goes in. Speed right with it. Janis is drifting to the right. He's bringing her back over, and 5.801. Stevie Fast, 247, 5.
Here we are in the semis, and I kind of feel like it's always me versus me. My hero, Khaled Al-Balushi, with the Pro Charged super hot rod, Brad Personette doing the tuning. There's pros and cons to running your teammates. The awesome thing about this, me and Belushi lining up in the semifinals, is that we know we're going to have a Bahrain 1 car in the final. And that itself is a win. If Belushi crushes me here, I'm going to be jumping up and down knowing that he's going to the final. If I beat him, he's going to be jumping up and down knowing that I'm going to the final. The name of the game is to get a team car with the win to represent Bahrain 1 Racing. With that said, Belushi's got me covered on performance again. I cannot outrun this car. I cannot run this car.
Well, Belushi may have lit both bulbs, but he kept them lit too long. Look at that, 582 to a 576. Steve Jackson wins it on a hole shot.
And here we are at the final round. Hard to get to the final in NHRA Pro Modified. Hard to get to the final anywhere, but especially over here. And as what you'll see continuing to be the theme, it's me versus Brandon Snyder. The first time we raced, margin of victory 5 thou, Brandon. Second time we raced, margin of victory 5 thou, me. Here we are in the final round. Nobody's taking anybody lightly. We're both running these things as hard as they can absolutely go. He left on me by a couple. I'm ahead at 1,000 foot. I dumped the chutes a tick too early. Not sure if that would have made the difference or not. He may have still got me, but I want to say the margin of victory on this race was 0.02 of a second, maybe even 1,000th of a second. It was one of the closest races in my NHRA Pro Mod career. Once again, it's inches at the finish line.
We're pre-stage. Bump forward one more. Brandon Snyder says, come on, man. Let's get it on. Brandon Snyder wins it on a little baby hole shot. His first inning.
Houston, Texas, E1. The points race in the NHRA Pro Modified division is as tight as it can be. There's 4 people gunning out for the championship. We've qualified on the pole, qualifying number 1. We've got an excellent hot rod, and we're up against Alex Laughlin in the first round. Now, normally anytime you run Alex, you're not too worried about them winning or beating you or doing anything good. You just go up there to make a good lap. Sometimes you forget that they got that ProCharger combination over there that makes an extra 1,000 horsepower. And they just come up, and Alex slapped me around on the starting line and flat out run me out the back. They used the engine up to get the round win. I don't even think they came back up and made the next round. But they take us out in the first round, and it sure is going to make going to Las Vegas for the World Finals exciting.
So Stevie Fast Jackson, right side of your screen. Alex Laughlin, left side, pulling double duty this weekend in Pro Stock and Pro Modified.
Big round for Stevie Jackson for the points implications. He needs to distance himself, but Alex Laughlin takes 200s at the tree.
And that's going to qualify as a massive upset as Alex Laughlin has just knocked out Stevie Fast Jackson. A 573-1 beats a 5.
Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, if you're going to say one thing about our team, you got to say that we're tough to beat in Las Vegas. We always seem to put together a package that runs in the desert good. I don't know if it's because my guys spend all their time at the casino drinking tequila or if we just have a good combination for this dry weather. But here we are. This is a do-or-die situation in the first round. Once again, this is me versus me. Jim Whiteley in the 63 Corvette that I tune versus me and Billy in our car. And what you're going to see here is not only a testament to how we race as far as being fair, but the fact that we owe it to the fans to give you guys a show and to give it all to give both cars all they have. I told Jim, if you leave the starting line on me, you're going to outrun me. And I told Billy, if I don't leave with Jim Whiteley, and Jim Whiteley is an exceptional driver and an exceptional lever, he will. We had $100 bet on the starting line on this run, and maybe with our reaction times, I should always bet $100. Jim tattoos me on the starting line with a 005. I was 011, which is by no stretch of the imagination's late. Margin of victory down there, 0.04 of a second. I'm 0.04 of a second from throwing the whole season away. So by getting this round win, you're going to see some magic.
And making a whole lot of noise. Steve Jackson on the right side knows that although Jim rolled in here in the number 8 qualifier spot, he is nobody to be taken lightly at this point in time. And for everybody down there at Bahrain 1 Racing, the pressure is on. Pre-stage bulbs are lit. Stevie Fast over on the right side. Jim Whiteley on the left. We're in. Set. Going. Jim Whiteley gets himself a small advantage on the starting line, but it will not be enough to get around Steve Jackson. He got about as close as you could possibly get. Wow. 005 on the tree and 578 at 246 miles an hour down the racetrack. Steve Jackson was 11 on the tree and 577. It came down to 0.04 of a second at the finish line, and Stevie Fast came as close to giving that one.
It's as simple as it gets in NHRA Championship drag racing. Stevie Fast Jackson on the left side, Brandon Snyder on the right side. Winner takes home the season championship for the E3 Spark Plugs Pro Modified Series. presented by J&A Services.
Talk about pressure. We're the last pair out of the session, sitting in the staging lane, strapped in the race car. I'm watching my guys mull around and handle their duties. I can see the look on their faces. I can see the look on Billy Stocklin's face. Everybody's nervous. I'm nervous. I'm shaking. These rounds like this, you just approach differently. Anybody that tells you that it's just another round, the car doesn't know what's happening, that person is a liar. Before we roll up to the starting line, I rarely give Billy Stocklin full authorization. And what that means, when I tell Billy Stocklin you have full authorization, that means that I do not care if the race car can make another run today or not. That means I don't care about the engine making it. I don't care about knocking the supercharger off of it. I don't care if the rods come out the bottom of it. Just win at all costs. It's expensive to give that man that kind of authorization. Me and Billy, we race hard all the time. When you come up to a round like this, you literally, if you're going to beat us, you have to want to win more than what we want to win. We're rolling up there, and I told my guys, we had the spare engine out of the trailer before we went up for the second round, and everybody was briefed that we were going to have to put it in to take the tree in the semis if we'd won. We do our burnouts. Brandon I can hear that loud, nasty Corvette over there. Does a big burnout. I do a big burnout. We back up, light the bulbs. Everybody takes a deep breath. This is a big moment. You train for this and you prepare for this moment your entire racing career to sit on a stage like this. I can see all the people on their feet in the stands. I can hear Ryan Hart on the microphone pumping the deal up. We take a deep breath, stage the car. When we let go, I knew I nailed it, but I knew he moved first.
Brandon's ready for the championship. Green lights a pair. 7th thou apart.
It's hard to explain how you can see a few thousandths of a second of reaction time from in the car, but when you let go, you know who left first, and I know he left on me. We get to the 8th mile, and we're dead side by side. I'm praying to the racing gods. Please give me a tailwind. Come on, Billy Stocklin, pull me through. Our car makes good bacon in 1,000 foot. I start inching on him.
Action time. Stevie's car's dancing around middle of the race course. Wind light says Stevie Fast Jackson by 4 thousandths of a second.
At the stripe, I do not know who won. When it's that close, I don't look. I am focused on not steering the car around. Car makes a little bit of move to the left. I get it back, pull the chutes dead on time. They hit in the lights, and I don't know who won. The guys are on the radio jabbering. I can't tell if they're saying that he got me or we won. I ask them, who won? We don't hear anything. I can't hear anything. I ask them again, did we win? Did we not win? Finally, I hear Billy Stocklin come on the radio, and he says, you got him, buddy. And when I tell you that all the pressure in the world leaves you in that moment, it's the most surreal feeling in the world to know that you've won the championship on one of the last rounds of the season. We make the turn. I've been on both sides of the fence. There's a big difference in what you're going through in your mind as a driver when they steer you to the left or steer you to the right down there, when you've got all those people waiting to hand you a trophy, and when you've come up that close and not got it. Margin of victory, 4 thousandths of a second. My hat's off to Brandon and that entire team. They ran a tremendous season. They were there to win it in the end, and this is going to be a program that wins championships over here. I have a lot of respect for those guys. It's an honor to race against competitors that are as good as what they are at what they do.
One run, winner take all for the championship. Let me tell you, that's a little throttle pedal communication there. Whacking the throttles back and forth. I'm ready. Me too. So here it is as they ease up into the pre-stage beam. There's Brandon. There's Stevie. Deep breath. Focus. Brandon's ready for the championship. Green lights a pair. 7th thou apart in reaction time. Stevie's car's dancing around middle of the race course. Wind light says Stevie Fast Jackson by 4 thousandths of a second. 570.
The elation that follows when you win in a big round like this is indescribable. It is a feeling that I wish and I hope that everybody at one point in their lifetime gets to experience when you have pushed all your chips out on the table. They're all stacked up, they're falling over, and literally this moment defines who you are. This was a really big moment in our career. It is extremely difficult to win a championship in NHRA. It is extremely difficult and even harder than that to win two. Winning back-to-back, it's one of the hardest things that there is to do. Huge thanks to my team and all the sponsors that support us and the fans. We had fans that flew all the way to Las Vegas just to watch this championship unfold. And I want to take a minute and thank you guys. Thank all of you supporters for our YouTube channel. Your comments and even some of your criticism is what fuels me. And I don't thank you guys enough for your part in the success of our program. Thank you.
You can see him up at the top end of the race course, putting his mask on. Glenn Cromwell, president of the National Hot Rod Association, with a gold trophy. And here's your champion once again, Stevie Fast Jackson.
Well, your 2020 Pro Modified World Champion has made his way to the winner's circle. He is signing that $50,000 check. Steve, as you pick up your second championship trophy, last year you picked up your first championship a whole race ahead on the season. This year you come into Vegas trailing Brandon Snyder. This was a winner-take-all matchup. What pushed you to victory here today?
Our team owner, Sheikh Abdulla. Man, when you have a season like this, there's a lot of team owners that give up on you. When you run as bad as we've been running, there's a lot of people that give up on you. You have sponsors leave, you have people doubt you. Sheikh Abdulla and our Bahrain 1 team was never not behind us. You got Billy Stocklin on the keyboards. You got my boys Jack, Robert, and Drew over here working on the car. You can't lose. Did a decent job of driving today. This means a lot. The first one I felt like was easier. This one right here, you had to earn it. That's the ones that are most special. Thank you all you fans for coming out and supporting us. All of our sponsors that stick with us this year. During the tough times like this year, you know where you stand during the good times. How about that, boys?
Congratulations to your 2020 E3 Spark Plug Pro Modified World Champion, Stevie Fast Jackson.
And here we are in Las Vegas, the last race of the 2020 season, and I look over, and it's my hero and Bahrain 1 Racing teammate Khaled Al-Balushi. What's really exciting about the semis and finals of this event is that the only 3 cars left standing in the semifinals, I had a competition by run. I just had to take the tree. And then we had Justin Bond in a Bahrain 1 racing car versus Khaled Al-Balushi in a Bahrain 1 racing car. So it's 3 Bahrain 1 racing cars in the semifinals. The only cars left in competition after the second round was our team. When you have a day like that, you are winning. This is a zero pressure final round for me. I'm Belushi's biggest fan here. I've just won the 2020 championship. I told Belushi before we roll up there, I said, I can't give it to you. We got to race for it. I said, but man, I hope you kick my butt. We let go, and I look over, and he's there. He is the pedal that has a problem. We get down there and are fortunate to sneak away with it. My car was way over to the left side during this run. And it's an elation to be able to win the championship and win the race, the same day. I don't know if anybody's keeping score, but in Las Vegas, we've won 3 out of the last 4. So if you're going to beat us, you don't want to go to Las Vegas and race us. Here's to a successful 2020 racing season. Thank you, fans, for sticking with us through what has been a very difficult year. We look forward to seeing you guys and girls in the stands in 2021.
Stevie got a couple on. He is way over by the wall, driving it right into the winner's circle. 78, 247 miles an hour for Stevie Fast Jackson, and he wins it. Belushi goes 589. Look at the speed, only 224 miles an hour. That thing was not running full song at the finish line, but Steve Jackson